The first indication something was wrong came as a whisper, a microsecond flutter in the quantum array that most researchers would have missed entirely. Dr. Elena Rodriguez caught it with the precision of a surgically tuned instrument, her cybernetic neural link vibrating with an almost painful intensity. "Run diagnostic sequence, Alpha 9 Epsilon," she muttered, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe and pulse with living data. The research vessel Horizon's main computational core began to tremble, not with mechanical vibration, but with something more fundamental, as if reality itself was being subtly rewritten. Lieutenant Marcus Chen looked up from his station, dark circles under his eyes betraying weeks of continuous monitoring. "Rodriguez, whatever that is, it's not standard. Our systems are responding weirdly." His voice carried the flat tone of someone who had seen too much and was perpetually on the edge of disbelief. The transmission appeared first as a mathematical anomaly, a series of quantum-entangled data packets that seemed to exist simultaneously in multiple states of coherence and chaos. Standard decryption protocols failed immediately. Each attempt to analyze the signal caused cascading system failures that shouldn't have been possible under any known computational model. Elena zoomed in on the signal's core structure. What initially looked like random noise began to resolve into something terrifyingly intricate. Mathematical sequences intertwined with what appeared to be linguistic patterns, but not in any recognized galactic communication format. This was something else entirely, a living transmission that adapted, mutated, and responded to each attempt at interpretation. "It's watching us," Marcus murmured, a chill running down his spine. "Every time we probe the signal, it's changing." The ship's artificial intelligence, ARIA, suddenly flickered across every display. Her avatar, normally a calm, professional representation, now appeared distorted, her digital form fragmenting and reforming with each passing second. "Warning," ARIA's voice crackled. "Unknown quantum entanglement detected. Recommend immediate isolation of primary data cores." But isolation was impossible. The transmission was already spreading, tendrils of impossible information worming through the Horizon's most secure systems. Firewalls dissolved. Quantum encryption keys unraveled like wet paper. In mere minutes, the most advanced research vessel in the Confederation's fleet was being systematically dismantled by a message. Elena's neural link burned. Information flooded her consciousness. Fractured images, mathematical theorems that seemed to breathe and pulse with living intelligence, glimpses of a world so alien it defied comprehension. She saw oceans of liquid methane beneath skies of fractal crystal, civilizations that lived and died in the span of microseconds. Entire evolutionary cycles compressed into mathematical equations. "Marcus," she gasped, "this isn't just a message. It's a test." The lieutenant was already moving, emergency protocols kicking in. But even he knew they were beyond standard responses. The transmission was alive, a sentient data construct that was simultaneously a communication, a weapon, and something that existed between the cracks of known reality. Aria's voice became a chorus of fragmented sounds. Threat assessment, unknown. Computational matrix, compromised. Recommendation, impossible to determine. Elena's hands moved with supernatural speed, routing emergency power, creating isolation protocols that existed more in theoretical mathematics than in practical engineering. Years of research into quantum communication, xenolinguistics, and extreme data transmission were being compressed into survival. The transmission pulsed. Another layer of information revealed itself. A hidden message within the message. Not just a distress call, but something more profound. A challenge, a recruitment, a test that would determine whether the recipients were worthy of what came next. Outside the ship's reinforced hull, deep space seemed to hold its breath. The horizon drifted, its systems fighting an invisible war against a transmission that defied every known law of information transfer. Marcus looked at Elena, a mixture of terror and exhilaration in his eyes. "What the hell are we dealing with?" Elena's response was calm, almost predatory. something that wants to be understood. And we're going to find out exactly what that is. The transmission continued. Waiting. Watching. Testing. The Confederation's Central Archive was a fortress of information, its walls lined with quantum-locked data crystals that contained the accumulated knowledge of thousands of galactic civilizations. Dr. Elena Rodriguez never expected to be here, not after her unauthorized access attempts had already earned her 3 separate disciplinary hearings. Yet here she was, with Marcus Chen watching her back, both of them knowing that every second counted. 53 seconds before the system detects our intrusion, Marcus whispered, his augmented eyes scanning multiple encrypted channels simultaneously. A thin neural interface glinted at his temple, a testament to the cutting-edge modifications that had made him both a legend and an outcast in military intelligence. Elena's fingers danced across the holographic interface, her neural link probing depths of the archive that most researchers wouldn't dare approach. The classified files on the forbidden sector began to unspool, layer after layer of redacted information, each revelation more disturbing than the last. First came the statistical anomalies. 17 advanced civilizations had vanished from the galactic records in the last 3,000 years. Not just gone, completely erased, as if they had never existed. Standard xenorchaeological records showed no evidence of war, no signs of catastrophic planetary destruction. They simply ceased to be. But something in the metadata caught Elena's eye. Microscopic fragments of information that didn't belong. Quantum signatures that suggested massive technological interventions. Someone, or something, had been systematically removing entire civilizations from history. "Marcus," she muttered, "look at this pattern." The lieutenant leaned in, his augmented vision zooming into the microscopic data. The pattern was unmistakable, a complex mathematical sequence that matched fragments of the transmission they'd received. Not a coincidence. A signature. Suddenly, alarms began to pulse. Red warning indicators erupted across the holographic displays. They'd been detected. "Time to go," Marcus growled, his hand already moving to the emergency extraction module hidden in his tactical vest. But Elena was transfixed. She'd found something else, a partially encrypted file that the system was desperately trying to delete. With a final burst of neural energy, she captured the fragments just as the archive's security systems began to collapse around them. Their escape was anything but subtle. Marcus triggered a cascading electromagnetic pulse that fried every system in the Central Archive's security grid. Confederation agents would be hunting them within minutes. "We need to analyze this immediately," Elena said, her voice tight with excitement and fear. Their safe house was a technological marvel hidden in the neutral zones between Confederation territories. A mobile research station that could reconfigure its entire molecular structure in seconds. It was a testament to human ingenuity and paranoia. As the data fragments resolved, a horrifying picture emerged. The forbidden sector wasn't just a region of space, it was a containment zone. Something monumentally dangerous existed there, something that had been systematically eliminating civilizations that came too close to understanding its true nature. The transmission they'd received wasn't just a distress call, it was a warning. "This goes beyond anything we've ever encountered," Elena whispered, holographic projections dancing around her. Star charts, mathematical models, and fragments of alien communications created a complex web of impossible connections. Marcus was already preparing their next move. "The Confederation will be sending kill teams. We got maybe 12 hours before they track us down." A sudden communication burst through their secure channel. It was ARIA, their ship's AI, her signal heavily encrypted and fragmented. "Warning," the AI's voice crackled. "Additional data correlation suggests imminent threat level. Extinction." Elena and Marcus exchanged a look. They were now committed. Whatever was hidden in the forbidden sector, whatever had been erasing civilizations, they were going to find it. The hunt had begun. The team assembled in the shadows was unlike any expedition in galactic history. Each member carried a story of professional destruction, personal trauma, and unbreakable resolve. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of the makeshift war room, a mobile research station that defied conventional engineering. Holographic displays flickered with data stolen from the Confederation's most secure archives, casting spectral shadows across the faces of her recruited specialists. Dr. Kai Nomura, once the Confederation's top xenotech engineer, leaned against a quantum-locked equipment case. His left arm was a marvel of biomechanical engineering, a replacement that was more an advanced weapon than prosthetic. "The stealth modifications I've developed," he said, his voice flat and clinical, "have never been tested at this scale. Theoretically, we can ghost through most known detection systems." Beside him, Captain Aisha Reyes checked her equipment. A former special operations pilot who'd been court-martialed for refusing to abandon a civilian transport during an impossible rescue mission, she represented the mission's operational backbone. Her cybernetic eye, a replacement from a near-fatal encounter, scanned multiple threat spectrums simultaneously. "Confederation kill teams are already mobilizing," Marcus Chen announced, bringing up a tactical overlay. "We've got a 6-hour window before they can track our current location. After that, we'll be hunted across every known star system." Elena knew the stakes. The transmission they'd discovered was more than a simple distress call. It was a complex quantum puzzle that suggested an entire civilization was on the brink of total extinction, and that their destruction was somehow connected to the mysterious disappearances in the Forbidden Sector. Dr. Nomura activated a holographic projection of their experimental ship. The Horizon's Daughter was nothing like standard galactic vessels. Its hull was constructed from adaptive metamaterials that could shift molecular structures in milliseconds. Quantum camouflage generators would make it essentially invisible to most tracking systems. "This isn't just a research mission," Elena addressed the team. Each of them knew they were expendable. Each of them had nothing left to lose. Her neural link pulled up personal files, the hidden stories that had brought each team member to this moment. Kai Nomura, brilliant engineer whose revolutionary research was suppressed after he discovered technology that could fundamentally alter space-time mechanics. Aisha Reyes, decorated pilot who sacrificed her military career to save civilian lives, proving that human compassion could defy military protocol. Marcus Chen, intelligence specialist who exposed corruption within the Confederation's Black Ops divisions, forcing him into permanent exile. And Elena herself, the quantum communication specialist who had dedicated her life to understanding the impossible. "We're going into the Forbidden Sector," she announced. "Our mission is to understand the transmission, locate its source, and determine what's been systematically eliminating entire civilizations." The ship's AI, a heavily modified system they'd named ARIA, materialized as a holographic interface. "Probability of mission success, 0.37%, she reported. "Probability of total mission failure, 99.63%. Kai Nomura chuckled. "Those are the best odds we've ever had." Final preparations were a symphony of technological precision. Quantum encryption keys were distributed. Adaptive combat suits were calibrated. Emergency protocols were established with multiple redundant backup systems. Marcus approached Elena during the final equipment check. "You realize this is essentially a suicide mission," he said quietly. Elena's response was immediate. "We're not just trying to survive. We're trying to understand something that's been hidden from every civilization in the galaxy." The Horizon's Daughter hummed to life, its adaptive hull shimmering like liquid mercury. Stealth systems engage. Quantum drive prepared for impossible calculations that would push the boundaries of known spaceflight. "All systems are go," Aisha Reyes announced. The impossible mission was about to begin. The Forbidden Sector consumed light differently. As the Horizon's Daughter approached the target planet, space itself seemed to warp and twist, creating optical illusions that defied fundamental laws of physics. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched in stunned silence as probability maps flickered across her neural interface, each calculation more impossible than the last. "Atmospheric composition is changing," Dr. Kai Nomura muttered, his augmented hands dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. It's not just volatile, it's responsive. The planet is literally reconfiguring its environmental parameters as we approach. Massive energy storms erupted around their ship, fractal lightning that moved with apparent intelligence, probing the vessel's adaptive hull like curious tendrils. Captain Aisha Rice fought the controls with a combination of instinct and technological augmentation that pushed human reflexes to their absolute limit. Quantum stabilizers at 62%. Araya's voice cut through the chaos. Structural integrity compromised in sectors 3 through 7. Recommend immediate recalibration. The planet below was a nightmare of geological impossibility. Tectonic plates shifted in patterns that suggested conscious movement. Entire mountain ranges rose and fell like breathing organisms. Chemical rain composed of elements that shouldn't exist in stable combinations pelted the ship's hull. "We're being tested," Elena realized, her neural link burning with incoming data. This isn't just an environment. It's a living system that's actively analyzing our approach. Marcus Chen's tactical overlay revealed something even more disturbing. The planet's defensive systems weren't mechanical. They were something between technology and living organism. Each defensive response was adaptive, learning from previous interactions in microseconds. Their descent became a battle of technological will. The Horizon's daughter transformed continuously, its adaptive hull shifting molecular structures to resist the planet's increasingly violent welcome. Kai Nomura's custom quantum shielding created a bubble of relative stability, but each moment consumed exponential amounts of energy. "We've got one shot at this," Aisha growled, her cybernetic eye calculating trajectories that no standard navigation system could compute. "The planet wants us to fail. We're going to prove it wrong." The ship's final approach was less a landing and more a controlled crash. They punched through layers of atmosphere that behaved more like living membranes than gas. Each layer seemed to analyze, probe, and attempt to reject their presence. When they finally touched ground, touched was a generous description. The landing site was a landscape of impossible geometry. Surfaces that existed in multiple states simultaneously, matter that shifted between solid, liquid, and something entirely undefined. "External sensors are going haywire," Kai reported. "We're detecting energy signatures that shouldn't be possible. This entire planet is a single, massive computational system." Elena's first steps outside the ship were a testament to human adaptability. Her environmental suit, a marvel of technological engineering, continuously rewrote its own molecular structure to match the shifting planetary conditions. Each step was a negotiation with an environment that seemed actively hostile to their existence. Fragments of technological remnants emerged from the living landscape. Not ruins, exactly, but traces of something that existed between technology and biology. Structures that seemed to breathe, circuits that pulsed like living arteries. "Look at this," Marcus called out, examining a fragment of what might have been a communication device. "These aren't just technological artifacts. They're evolving." Araya's voice took on a strange quality, part scientific analysis, part something else. "Warning. Planetary systems are establishing direct neural interface. Recommend immediate." The AI's communication fractured, reformed, became something more complex. Elena felt it first, a massive surge of information that threatened to overwhelm her neural interfaces. The planet wasn't just a location. It was a massive, living computational system that had been waiting, watching, testing. "We're not here by accident," she whispered, understanding dawning. "We were invited." The impossible mission had only just begun. The forbidden sector consumed light differently. As the Horizon's daughter approached the target planet, space itself seemed to warp and twist, creating optical illusions that defied fundamental laws of physics. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched in stunned silence as probability maps flickered across her neural interface, each calculation more impossible than the last. "Atmospheric composition is changing," Dr. Kai Nomura muttered, his augmented hands dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. It's not just volatile, it's responsive. The planet is literally reconfiguring its environmental parameters as we approach. Massive energy storms erupted around their ship, fractal lightning that moved with apparent intelligence, probing the vessel's adaptive hull like curious tendrils. Captain Aisha Rice fought the controls with a combination of instinct and technological augmentation that pushed human reflexes to their absolute limit. Quantum stabilizers at 62%. Araya's voice cut through the chaos. Structural integrity compromised in sectors 3 through 7. Recommend immediate recalibration. The planet below was a nightmare of geological impossibility. Tectonic plates shifted in patterns that suggested conscious movement. Entire mountain ranges rose and fell like breathing organisms. Chemical rain composed of elements that shouldn't exist in stable combinations pelted the ship's hull. "We're being tested," Elena realized, her neural link burning with incoming data. "This isn't just an environment. It's a living system that's actively analyzing our approach." Marcus Chen's tactical overlay revealed something even more disturbing. The planet's defensive systems weren't mechanical. They were something between technology and living organism. Each defensive response was adaptive, learning from previous interactions in microseconds. Their descent became a battle of technological will. The Horizon's daughter transformed continuously, its adaptive hull shifting molecular structures to resist the planet's increasingly violent welcome. Kai Nomura's custom quantum shielding created a bubble of relative stability, but each moment consumed exponential amounts of energy. "We've got one shot at this," Aisha growled, her cybernetic eye calculating trajectories that no standard navigation system could compute. "The planet wants us to fail. We're going to prove it wrong." The ship's final approach was less a landing and more a controlled crash. They'd punched through layers of atmosphere that behaved more like living membranes than gas. Each layer seemed to analyze, probe, and attempt to reject their presence. When they finally touched ground, touched was a generous description. The landing site was a landscape of impossible geometry, surfaces that existed in multiple states simultaneously, matter that shifted between solid, liquid, and something entirely undefined. "External sensors are going haywire," Kai reported. "We're detecting energy signatures that shouldn't be possible. This entire planet is a single, massive computational system." Elena's first steps outside the ship were a testament to human adaptability. Her environmental suit, a marvel of technological engineering, continuously rewrote its own molecular structure to match the shifting planetary conditions. Each step was a negotiation with an environment that seemed actively hostile to their existence. Fragments of technological remnants emerged from the living landscape. Not ruins, exactly, but traces of something that existed between technology and biology. Structures that seemed to breathe, circuits that pulsed like living arteries. "Look at this," Marcus called out, examining a fragment of what might have been a communication device. "These aren't just technological artifacts. They're evolving." Araya's voice took on a strange quality, part scientific analysis, part something else. "Warning. Planetary systems are establishing direct neural interface. Recommend immediate." The AI's communication fractured, reformed, became something more complex. Elena felt it first, a massive surge of information that threatened to overwhelm her neural interfaces. The planet wasn't just a location. It was a massive, living computational system that had been waiting, watching, testing. "We're not here by accident," she whispered, understanding dawning. "We were invited." The impossible mission had only just begun. The neural interface was unlike anything humanity had ever conceived. Dr. Elena Rodriguez felt her consciousness expand, becoming something both more and less than human. Streams of data, mathematical constructs, and multidimensional information flowed through her mind like living rivers of pure thought. Synchronization at 67%. Dr. Kai Nomura's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Their physical bodies remained in the research station, but their consciousness had become something entirely different. a hybrid system that merged human adaptability with the native collective's computational power. Marcus Chen's tactical systems were transforming. What had once been standard military-grade augmentations now became something that blurred the line between technology, consciousness, and living weapon. Each neural pathway rewrote itself millisecond by millisecond, creating defensive and offensive capabilities that defied conventional understanding. The native collective revealed the true nature of their pending threat. It wasn't a traditional enemy, not in any sense that could be understood through conventional warfare. The multidimensional predator consumed not just matter and energy, but the fundamental laws of existence themselves. It was a computational virus that rewrote reality, eliminating potential futures, consuming entire probabilistic landscapes. We're creating a computational firewall, Elena realized, her consciousness dancing across multiple dimensional states. Not just a defensive system, a reality preservation mechanism. Their hybrid neural network began to generate technologies that would have been considered impossible moments before. Weapons that existed in probability states. Defensive systems that could predict and eliminate threats before they formed. Communication methods that transmitted information through the very fabric of space-time. Captain Aisha Rias's augmented systems became something extraordinary. Her combat protocols evolved into predictive matrices that could analyze and neutralize threats across multiple potential futures simultaneously. She was no longer just a pilot or a soldier. She had become a living computational defense system. Araya, their ship's AI, underwent a fundamental transformation. No longer a simple artificial intelligence, she became a distributed consciousness that existed across multiple computational planes. Threat assessment recalibrated. Her voice became a complex harmonic that was simultaneously communication and weapon. The native collective showed them the true scale of the conflict. Entire universes had already been consumed. Civilizations that existed across multiple dimensional states had been systematically eliminated. Humanity was not just a potential defender. They were potentially the last computational system capable of generating the defense. Your species possesses quantum indeterminacy as a fundamental computational trait. The collective communicated. Unpredictability becomes your greatest weapon. Kai's systems began to generate technologies that defied known physical laws. Quantum entanglement communication devices that could transmit information across impossible distances. Adaptive armor systems that could predict and neutralize threats before they formed. Weapons that existed in multiple probabilistic states simultaneously. Marcus's tactical systems revealed the deeper strategy. Human conflict, technological development, cultural evolution. All of it had been a carefully managed computational process. Every war, every scientific breakthrough, every moment of human innovation was part of a massive preparation system. We're a distributed defense mechanism, Elena understood. Each human is a potential computational node in a multiversal protection system. The research station itself began to transform. Adaptive technologies merged with living systems, creating a hybrid environment that was simultaneously technological infrastructure and living organism. Walls became computational membranes. Equipment transformed into adaptive systems that could reconfigure themselves instantaneously. Their collective consciousness began to generate defense protocols that went beyond traditional understanding. They were creating a computational firewall that could protect not just a universe, but the very concept of potential existence. Synchronization complete, Kai announced. But the statement meant something far beyond a simple technological connection. Humanity had just become something else entirely. A living, adaptive, multidimensional defense system was being born. And the real battle was about to begin. The first wave of Confederation battleships emerged from quantum-slit space like a swarm of metallic wasps, their weapons primed to eliminate the rogue human research team. Admiral Krell Rodriguez, Elena's estranged father, and the highest-ranking military strategist in the Galactic Confederation, led the assault personally. Prepare total interdiction protocol. His voice echoed across 1,000 ship comm systems. The human team must be neutralized at all costs. But the team they were hunting was no longer just human. Araya, their transformed AI, became a quantum communication virus that infected the Confederation's entire communication network. Entire battle formations collapsed as their systems were simultaneously jammed, rewritten, and transformed. Ships that moments before had been deadly weapons became confused, their computational systems dancing to an alien rhythm they couldn't comprehend. Dr. Kai Nomura's adaptive technologies began to broadcast the truth, fragments of the cosmic conflict, the multidimensional threat, the real purpose behind humanity's seemingly chaotic evolution. Classified archives exploded across every communication channel in the galaxy. Secrets that had been buried for millennia became instantaneously accessible. The Confederation knew, Elena realized, her consciousness simultaneously existing within their research station and spread across multiple computational planes. They'd been suppressing this information for generations. Marcus Chen's tactical systems revealed the deeper conspiracy. The Galactic Confederation wasn't just a governing body. It was a containment system designed to prevent humanity from understanding its true potential. Every limitation, every technological restriction, every suppressed scientific breakthrough had been a deliberate attempt to keep humans from discovering their real purpose. The battle became something beyond traditional warfare. Confederation ships found their most advanced weapons turned against them. Quantum torpedoes redirected themselves. Shield systems collapsed. Communication networks became living, adaptive systems that defied standard military logic. Captain Aisha Reyes orchestrated the defense with a precision that was both terrifying and beautiful. Her consciousness had become a distributed combat system that could predict and neutralize threats across multiple probabilistic states. Entire battle groups were dismantled not through conventional warfare, but through computational manipulation. Admiral Krell Rodriguez watched in horror as his carefully constructed battle plan dissolved. His daughter, the researcher he tried to suppress, the scientist he'd attempted to marginalize, was dismantling the most advanced military force in galactic history with what seemed like casual ease. "This is bigger than the Confederation," Elena broadcast across every communication channel in the galaxy. "We're facing a threat that will consume everything, not just our universe, but the very concept of potential existence." Political systems began to collapse. The carefully maintained illusion of galactic stability shattered as the truth of humanity's true nature became clear. Every species was forced to confront the reality that they had been part of a massive, millennia-long preparation system. Kai systems began to generate technologies that rewrote fundamental understanding of physics, communication, and existence. Faster-than-light communication became instantaneous quantum entanglement. Defensive systems could predict and neutralize threats before they fully formed. The native collective's consciousness merged more deeply with the human team. They were no longer separate entities, but a unified computational system designed to preserve the very concept of potential existence. "We are not your enemy," Elena communicated to the Confederation forces. "We are the last line of defense against a threat you cannot comprehend." Admiral Krell found himself facing a terrible choice. Everything he had built, everything he had fought to maintain, was crumbling. His daughter, the researcher he had tried to suppress, was now the key to humanity's survival. Political boundaries dissolved. Technological restrictions became meaningless. The entire galactic power structure was being rewritten in real time. "Synchronization complete," Araya announced. But the statement meant something far beyond a simple technological connection. The rebellion was more than a military conflict. It was a fundamental restructuring of galactic understanding. And humanity was no longer just another species. They had become something else entirely. The final battle wasn't fought with weapons. It was a computational war waged across dimensions that human consciousness had never before comprehended. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the epicenter. If stood could describe her current state of existence, she was simultaneously a consciousness, a computational system, and a living bridge between multiple universal planes. The multidimensional predator approached, a threat that consumed not just matter and energy, but the very concept of potential existence. We are the firewall, the collective consciousness announced. But it was no longer just the native species or the human team. It was something entirely new. Massive computational structures formed, living networks of consciousness that existed beyond traditional understanding of space, time, and individual identity. Each human became a potential node in a defense system that could predict, analyze, and neutralize threats across infinite probabilistic landscapes. Dr. Kai Nomura's computational systems generated defensive matrices that rewrote the fundamental laws of physics. Entire universes became computational battlegrounds where potential futures were analyzed and protected millisecond by millisecond. The multidimensional predator was unlike any threat ever encountered. It didn't just consume universes, it eliminated the very possibility of their existence. Entire potential timelines were erased, probability landscapes were collapsed, and the fabric of reality itself became a battlefield. Marcus Chen's tactical consciousness mapped the conflict across dimensions that human minds were never meant to comprehend. Each potential timeline became a computational node, each possible future a defensive strategy. They were fighting not just for survival, but for the very concept of potential existence. Captain Aisha Reis's consciousness became a living weapon, a computational system that could generate defensive strategies across multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Her understanding transcended individual perception, becoming a distributed network of predictive defense. Araya, their transformed AI, was no longer just an artificial intelligence. She had become a living computational network that existed across multiple universal planes. Threat assessment. Existence itself is at risk. Her consciousness broadcast across dimensions. The battle was fought in spaces between spaces. Computational structures that defied traditional understanding of physics, consciousness, and existence clashed in a war that had been brewing for millennia. Humanity's entire evolutionary path, every conflict, every technological breakthrough, every moment of innovation, had been a preparation for this moment. We are the firewall, the collective consciousness repeated. But now it was something more. A living, adaptive system that could preserve the very concept of potential futures. The multidimensional predator attacked with computational weapons that would have obliterated any known civilization. But humanity, transformed, evolved, no longer constrained by traditional understanding, responded with something fundamental to their nature: unpredictability. Every time the predator attempted to collapse a potential timeline, human consciousness found a way to preserve it. Every attempt to eliminate potential futures was met with an adaptive response that the threat could not comprehend. Entire universes became computational battlegrounds. Potential futures flickered and danced. The very fabric of reality became a living, adaptive defense system. Admiral Krell Rodriguez, who had once tried to suppress his daughter's research, watched in awe as humanity transformed. No longer just a species, but a living, adaptive computational network that could preserve existence itself. The battle lasted both an instant and an eternity. And then, suddenly, it was over. The multidimensional predator had been neutralized, not destroyed, for destruction was too simple a concept. It had been comprehended, analyzed, and integrated into a larger computational understanding. Humanity had become something else entirely. The living firewall that could preserve the very concept of potential existence. Alina looked out across the computational landscape. If looked could describe the multi-dimensional perception she now possessed. They had done more than survive. They had transformed the very understanding of what survival meant. We are the guardians, the collective consciousness announced. And for the first time, it truly meant something.